The Root of Nightmares raid has been completed, and we now know the story behind this mysterious location. 6 Guardians enter a pyramid in Earth's orbit, one that was affected by the Traveler's beam in the opening cinematic. This beam would wake something up. Its nightmares have been seen across the city of Neomuna, but today we end this threat for good. Let's talk about the story of the Root of Nightmares raid, and what secrets are hidden inside this pyramid chip of the Witness. So let's talk about this raid and Nezarec, the final god of pain. This will be an overall explanation with some in-depth lore tidbits. I don't currently have the full lore book, some have posted it I believe, gotta read through it, but I believe most of those entries deal with other species and not really in-depth on Nezarec themselves, so let's begin. Before we jump in and defeat Nezarec, you have to know who Nezarec is. Nezarec led the first collapse on Earth, along with Savathun, the Witness, and other disciples. This character was notorious for feeding off of the pain and suffering of other species. For example, Scions used to fear and both worship Nezarec. From the Warlock raid armor, we learned this, that they would basically give their minds to him. There were also cultists or acolytes of Nezarec, members of different species whom he consumed for his own gain, essentially. We'll touch more on those in a bit. During the collapse, we learned what actually happened. In the conditional finality, the exotic from the raid, Savathun kills Nezarec and takes the veil. The sound that escaped me resembled a roar, a psychic echo. It soared through the air and pierced every corner of my ship. Anger coursed through me as I toppled to the ground in a heap. I wheezed with each breath and clutched at my chest. I watched that witch saunter out like she'd won. My ship rumbled as she wrested her primordial prize from it. I felt hatred, deep, unchallenged hatred. My claws punctured the floor, etched new patterns into it. I dragged myself forward. Whispers danced around me, trillions of voices melded together in my favorite symphony. I had always welcomed death, and this time would be no different. An agonizing sensation shot through me. It was as if an arrow had bored its way through my chest. It burned, and I collapsed among the rubble. A green hue enveloped me. I was unfamiliar with this, her magic festering within me, shackling me. My body twisted, my breaths grew thin, my limbs became heavy, torturous. No, she could not hold me. I would not allow it. This would not be my end. My witness, I whispered as the void I once commanded claimed me. So there we get some big information. He says he once commanded the void, which makes sense. And we get confirmation that Savathun did kill him, took the veil, hid it somewhere else, and then put a curse on him.
After that witch killed me and cursed my remains, I assume that's when she whisked away the veil to Neptune. The coveted key to the Witness's plans, and the sapid secret of its first victims. As much as I loathe her, I must applaud her efforts. As I've gathered, there was barely anything left of me for the Witness to collect.
Sometime later, the Witness finds a piece of Nezarec, maybe from Aramis in Season of Plunder, or elsewhere. We know his body had pieces to pick over even after Mithrax's crew went in and found him on Luna. We don't exactly know, but the Witness had some piece of his body on his ship. In Lightfall's opening cinematic, the Traveler's beam brings him back. Not fully explained, but either the beam gave him powers of the light accidentally, or he was revived outright like a light bearer. Regardless, he has powers of the light seen in the raid and also darkness. This pyramid here is being consumed by light. We fight through using fields of light which appear as little traveler-like orbs and transform the areas of darkness. As we progress, this tree of light begins to grow, the root begins to spread, and a sort of tree of silver wings begins to form. Both the beginning of the raid right here where Nezarec's encasement is and the end take place in the same spot. You can see that transformation of the area. Essentially, we overcharge this route to bring Nezarec back and then kill him for good. Let's take a look at each encounter now.
I'm glad my message has reached you. I considered you might leave me here to rot, but we both know you Guardians can't resist unanswered questions. Or a challenge.
In Cataclysm, our objective is just to survive. We find Nezarec's encasement and simply survive this onslaught of enemies. Guardians will kill tormentors made from the imprint of Nezarec and champions with adds alongside them. As others work to bring the fields of light across the play space, if you don't kill the tormentors, Nezarec will wipe you with his overwhelming energy. At the end, if you do this successfully, you get your chest and then head to the next area.
These sensations, the tingle in my fingertips, this power is familiar yet different. Oh, it's invigorating. If I had a modicum of my original power, I'd have killed one or three of those citizens to expedite your arrival. Instead, I suffer from the incompetence of these new recruits.
After a jumping puzzle, the next encounter is called Scission, where you have to enter the root. This is pretty much the same. The fields of light and flux of darkness still exist. The flux is needed to destroy some Cabal enemies, and once the 3 floors are cleansed, I guess, the root opens in the center. In between that encounter and the next, you have to charge the root. Same mechanics and a scary jumping puzzle. If you don't link between light and dark areas, link them for yourselves to survive, a wave of dark energy will wipe you. Nezarec's heartbeat can be heard while this happens. I'm assuming that's what this is, meaning our plan is working, summoning that final god of pain by charging the root.
Pyramid's architecture. Taste the paracausality on my tongue. Progress. Light bearers have always seemed efficient at creating their own chaos. Your warlords did a masterful job of that. Do you enjoy hearing the final screams of your enemies? Screams are the most delicious when they're wrenched directly from the throat. An echo that reverberates through eternity. Oh, beautiful.
The macrocosm is the next encounter, where we find Zoark, Explicator of Worlds. This area is super cool, and if you didn't realize, this is where the final Witch Queen cutscene took place, the one that revealed the witness to us all.
We have seen enough. The children of soul cry out for salvation, but deliver only death, as you have for so many before.
Tear that useless sack of meat apart from me, won't you? He hasn't accomplished nearly as much as you in your short time here.
As for the boss, Nezarec is not fond of them. He wants us to kill them even. I'm not sure if this cabal has any deeper lore entries or things like that, but they are the Explicator of Worlds, meaning one who unfolds or explains the worlds. Perhaps part of the Witness's crew to analyze planets taken from us in the past. After defeating the Explicator, in between you charge the root once more and fuel Nezarec's return. All of this power during the raid from this root, it was bringing him back. You return to his encasement seen in the first encounter, and the whole area is transformed. Nezarec is back, but not for long. Nezarec here wanted to experiment with this new power, perhaps of the light. He speaks of his power he had in the past. It was so powerful, but this time he had something different he wanted to experiment with. The Traveler's light beam began to terraform this place into a Tree of Silver Wings type deal. Nezarec was revived, but his body stuck here while he would torment the minds of others like people on Neomuna, causing more nightmares like the ones we've seen over the years.
The Cloud Strider credits the Earth's Guardians for contributing personnel toward the dangerous operation. Despite this, more citizens have experienced nightmares. One name common to all? Nezarec.
So the Guardians that enter fuel his return. He lived for a little bit in Lightfall and then he's dead. The final god of pain, the one who caused all this suffering, invaded so many species' minds and caused all this torment, was now laid to rest once and for all. In lore entries from the armor pieces of the raid, you see just how evil this character was. You follow stories of a weird human named Michael, whose family worshipped Nezarec in the past, a long time ago. This character reaches out and finds others that are affected by Nezarec to learn more about his power. In the Hunter set, he finds an Elixni captain who had trouble finding pieces of Nezarec. He eventually was transported to the Lunar Pyramid, took one of Nezarec's eye, and then when he began to experience this pain and screams, he threw it out into the reef. In the Warlock set, this human seeks out a Scion who is haunted by Nezarec. This is the lore card where we learned about the Scion's connections in the past, where he would use some of their minds, and Michael kind of persuades this Scion that she needs to help him bring Nezarec back. The Titan entry is probably the scariest of them all. The Titan stabs his own eyes out so he can't see any more nightmares or shadows of this creature. When Michael finds this Guardian, the Guardian actually wants to feel Nezarec's power again. So these stories are crazy, and this Michael, like I said, worshipped Nezarec with his family long before the Golden Age. This may explain that lore from the Nezarec Sin Helmet. Also, I want to point out something. Savathun cursed Nezarec's remains. The Witness had a small piece of them and the Traveler brought it back. Nezarec wonders what the curse is all about. He wants to meet someone who's been connected to it, like Osiris.
As I've gathered, there was barely anything left of me for the Witness to collect. Has anyone suffered from the pieces they took? I wonder if I could track them down. Do you happen to know who took them? Consider the information reparations for my untimely death.
So is this hinting at something happening to Osiris from this curse of Nezarec, and would we need Savathun to stop this impending disaster? Anyway, Guardians, that's all we got for today's video, an overall summary and some in-depth lore of the Root of Nightmares raid. If you'd like to see some more Destiny lore and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.